my friend Rick.
Good morning, Annabelle. How are we this morning?
I am in a weird place. With all the events that have gone on around certain candidates in our country, I'm kind of in a weird place. There's some weirdness going on. I was checking out my girlfriend Alicia Wicker. If you guys aren't following her, go over, give her a try over here on the Tube of the U. She says that. I was looking at some of her videos about Donald Trump. Went back in time and I looked at some of mine. It's been a weird place. It's very pivotal moment of history, and I feel something has kind of changed over. But I haven't done a lot of readings because I've got my second kid with Grumpy Sapper's taking the piss this morning. Good morning, Grumpy. How are you? I owe you a text too, friend. So I've got my second kid got his wisdom teeth out on Thursday. That was very exciting. It was a lot of teeth. They were big teeth. They had to split them. So I've been doing a lot of mommy care. Had a birthday on Friday. Friday was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It was a good day. And I launched the first of my classes. You're going to be taking it. So it's a little short class. It's a little teaser class while I'm building the rest of them. So it's a class on Lenormand. So I've been super busy. And last night, I was telling you earlier, I went to bed at 8:00. I think I needed it. So how are you? You did something interesting this weekend.
Yeah, so a weekend of contrasts. As I was explaining to you off camera, my mind frame at the moment is processing, I think, quite a lot of grief. And what I've described to you as mind treacle, and just trying to get into any sort of stable structure, which is interesting considering what we're going to talk about today, but just finding stability. So my weekend was a weekend of contrasts. I went axe throwing, which I absolutely love. So bless my daughter for that Christmas present. We went there and threw a few axes. And unlike America, we're not allowed to drink there till after, which I found quite an interesting concept. And then yesterday, 180-mile round trip to go up to a lovely place up in Yorkshire, North Yorkshire. I'm doing readings all day, and it was an amazing, like you're saying, it's a very strange time at the moment. So lots of people needing lots of different things. So all of my skills came to the fore and came out of hiding for a bit. There was a little bit of hypnosis thrown in with somebody. There was healing thrown in from doing the Reiki sort of thing, none of which I tend to focus on. And then the rest of it was my tarot and my, I don't know what you call it. I really don't these days. It's just like put a pound in and let's see what comes out of the vending machine. I just love doing it.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about self-hypnosis today. So for everybody, that we are in a several week program right now. This is actually, last week was an introduction. Today is really week one. And this is about raising your vibration, raising your spirituality and your positivity over a series of weeks. We're going to have you working on all of your chakras. If you don't know what a chakra is, it's an energy center that's in your body. And by paying attention to those spaces in your body, in your physical body and your energetic body, you can actually adjust yourself kind of like a chiropractor and kind of get a better framework for the rest of the things that we do. Now, when we get energetically misaligned, it affects our physical body, but also we can get physically misaligned and it'll affect our energetic body. So it goes both ways. It's not, we just sit there and concentrate, on the energy and then our body just kind of comes along. Yeah. Sometimes we have to go the opposite way. We have to work on the body and then the energy comes along. So last week, and how I look at this, I always look at it like we're going on vacation. We're going into a high-rise hotel. Why is that? Because we're more relaxed at vacation time. You know, we're having a good time. We're there to replenish versus give out. So if the building that we were going into, just to give you an example, was an office building, everyone would have we would conduct ourselves in a very different fashion. Our energy levels would be very different. We would be going there to get things done for others for another thing. But if we're going into a hotel, who doesn't like going into a hotel? We're actually working on ourselves, and we're replenishing ourselves. So last week we talked about we get to the hotel chakra, and we get into the lobby. We dump all of our stuff. Why are we doing that? We're emptying our cup. We just want to create the construct, like in the Matrix, when they went in and went into the construct where there was nothing. It was just a white room. And then they said, bring in, weaponry. And that came in, Neo and Trinity were, picking their selections there. We're going to do that same thing. So last week, walk into the lobby, dump all our stuff. This week, we are going to be talking about the root chakra. Now, Rick, why is the root chakra so important?
For me, I always look at, and this is opinion, guys. This is not based on any sort of research, but I liken it because it's the one that's at the bottom of the chakras. It's the lowest one, and it's located around your groin area, right? And so for that, it's got to be the strongest one, because everything else is built on top of it. So if you imagine going to a building plot and you pick the building plot and that's all it is. It's soil, it's grass. You've got all of the rubbish that's on there, and you've got to get it down to a level place so that you can start to put a foundation in. Right now, any building, for anybody who's out there, I mean, I know very little about building, but I've done a lot of builders labouring, that a house is only as strong as the foundations that it's built on. So if you imagine now that we're at the stage where we've located the building plot, and last week we cleared that building plot, so we now know what we're looking at. We now know what we need, what we're looking for. So I see it as that first layer of concrete that goes into the footings. So we dig the footings out and we put the concrete into place. And here's the thing, and this is one of the things that I would say that I'm quite guilty of. Because I lack patience, I want to sometimes put things onto wet concrete, right? So you put something in there, you've had a great idea, right? I need a basis for it. I need patience. I need to do all of the research and all of this sort of thing. And then I go, right, is that concrete dry yet? Is that concrete dry yet? Is that concrete dry yet? Oh, can't wait for that. So I put my first lot of stuff onto it. And then I wonder why I get up in the next morning and look and think, there's a crack in that.
I think you were a cat in a past life. You're that cat that walks across the concrete with those cute little feet. I think you were a cat.
Yeah, that might well be the case, but I'll tell you what it would have been. It would have been a spiky cat, a bit prickly in the morning that don't want disturbing because it's been running around all night.
Definitely an orange cat.
Yeah, I think these days I'm more like Garfield, just wants to lay in the corner and be fed lasagna. I don't know. Anyway, off track as usual.
No, it's all right. I'm just picturing, like, I think we'll have to have Grumpy make a little cartoon of you with a cat face, little prickly cat. So no, I agree. You have to have a really good foundation. One of the things that I do want to point out, any of the chakras, just like when you drive a different car, sometimes the center of gravity is a little bit different from somebody else. So Rick, yours is like in the groin area for the root chakra. Some people will find it in that perineal area. Some people will find it actually at the base of the spine. You can have a little bit of a shift of that center of gravity there. Essentially, what you want to think is the bottom of your torso. So that is what actually is going to root us to to terra firma, to the planet, to the energy that aligns. I'm sorry. In a string vest. That's awesome.
No,
So,
nobody needs to see that, Grumpy.
so if any of you are not following Grumpy, I want to put up his I want to put up a link for him. I'll do that in just a second. Grumpy, sit tight. So basically it's the energy channel that you want to think about. The spine is part of the central nervous system. We have a lot of electrical impulses that go up that. If you connect, if you imagine that connection to earth, you are going to feel that flow coming up all the way to your brain. So, you know, everybody just take a second, and I want you to focus on that spine starting at the bottom. If you start at the bottom, you are going to feel that there's an energy meridian that goes up and down your body there. It's undeniable. If I don't care if my back hurts in like 3 different places right now. But you can feel that energy meridian. If you do not have a sound base chakra, you're not going to be able to direct that energy up into the other chakras, up into your pineal gland, any of those things. You're not going to be able to. It's going to get stuck like a pipe. Like there's a clog in a pipe. So we really do want to get that moving and get it, get it nice and clear. So one of my favorite meditations is Dick Sutphin's doing the chakra balancing. Joe Dispenza has one. You can find either of those on YouTube, I believe, without commercials. Most of the meditations they put on there without commercials, which is great. But how Dick Sutphin explains your chakras is it's like a swirling pool. So think of a like a small whirlpool, or even like a spacey kind of swirling debris field. Think of it that way. I see my chakras as a pool of energy spinning clockwise. Very important. We want to go clockwise. Spinning clockwise. There's a little bit of sparkly stuff in there because I like sparkly stuff, but the color is really important. The color should be red for this. It should be a beautiful red. So the tapestry that Rick has behind him with the galaxy, kind of a red galaxy, perfect for today. That is kind of how I see mine. It's very, very red, different colors of red, and it's spiraling clockwise. Focus on that for a few minutes. And what you'll see is as you breathe, and of course, we're breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. As we do that, you're going to see the disposition of that energy moving a little bit differently. So maybe when you start, it's spinning really fast, or maybe really slow, and you'll see it'll pick up or slow down, and get to a more sustainable kind of speed in terms of spinning. And then it will start to emit a bit of a pulse of energy. So think of like a light that's kind of flashing. You're going to have that. You can use the musical notes that attune with the chakras. There's lots of different videos with that too. Some people use sound bowls. Some people just use an electronic sound. F sharp is the most healing sound. So if you feel like you need to do some healing, or you need to really push that chakra along, you can use the F sharp, but I'm just going to pull up the musical notes that go with the chakras. So, Rick, would you explain how you kind of balance your chakras, how you get your energy centers balanced while I'm doing that?
This all comes down to belief with me, because I'm still in that stage that even after 7 years as being on the circuit doing card readings and demonstrations and all the rest of it, that the healing side of what I do is not taken for granted, but it's just kind of there. So my version, and I open up my chakras all of the time, and I close my chakras down all of the time when I'm doing any work. And just to pick up on one thing there that I would add into my own particular thing, what Annabelle was saying there about being at the base of the spine, and also with me located at the groin. If you can picture, visualize, or use your imagination, one of the older ear trumpets, you know, with that sort of fluted sort of opening. So that at the front, but also at the back. So it goes through the system. So you can either work on the front of yourself with this, or you can work on the back, because that is the energy that comes through. So when they show it on diagrams there, you will see like the flutes opening up, and the energy will come from back to front or front to back. Either way, it doesn't matter. So what I tend to do is I start out with a prayer or an affirmation or an intention that I'm about to do this work. And I then feel my hands, and like you're warming your hands up, right? Like you're warming your hands up so that you're getting that energy flowing in there, because everything in life is all about energy and frequency. So I warm my hands up. And then what I will do is I will focus, depending on where I am, of course, because I don't want to be stood there hip thrusting while I'm working on the groin area, because it will draw attention in completely the wrong way. But if you're sat in your own private space, or you're in a space where you can conduct this, is to then direct the energy. Now, whether you interlock your fingers or whether you just direct that intention, whether it's one hand or two hand, there is to just feel the energy and the pulsing. Now, I'm not sitting there with my hand in my lap or anything like that. So I'm about this distance away, because if you imagine your aura space as well, that contains all of your energies in there, you will be able to feel at some point. Now, when I first started all of this, mine was very closed. So I didn't like people being close to me. I didn't like people being in my energies. But what I've learned to do is there's a time and a place to be open, and there's a time and a place to be closed off to what you need to be closed off to. So as I'm sat here now and we're just talking about this, my aura is fairly closed in. So I'm sat there with the energy there around the groin area, and I'm just feeling the energy there. And I put the intent out there that I would like this to open up to its fullest working speed. Now, this is important for me when I'm working, because you've got the resting speed, right? Then you've got its normal everyday speed. And then you've also got where, if you imagine turning up a dial, and this is what we're doing here, we're doing it in degrees. And please respect this as well, because sometimes when you first start off and you go, oh, yeah, it's fine, and turn it up to full, it will knock you bandy. It will knock you all over the place. So what I do is I spend a moment in respect to my own energy fields and say that I am about to do some work, whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it's healing, whether it's readings or anything like that. And then I ask for my chakras to open up to their fullest working speed. So you get there, and some days like today, I've got an energetic hangover because I was busy yesterday, and it's took quite a lot out of me. So when I'm working today, I will have mine. Imagine I'm turning it up to full to work, but then I need to turn it back a couple of degrees just to be able to deal with my lack of energy this morning. So it will find its own way. So just spend a couple of seconds there tuning the dial. It's almost like because it's fine tuning. It's like a radio frequency that we'll remember this at our age, but when you used to have to tune everything in on the little dial, and it's sometimes you're there, you're in the station, but there's a slight bit of interference or crackling. So when you sit there with it and you're settled, it's just some really deep breaths in. I'm asking for my root chakra, because that's what I'm working on today, to be opened up to its fullest working speed. So I imagine just turning up the dials and then just turning it back a few degrees, because that's out of self-protection and self-guidance, and just ask to be in a place of balance and peace. Visualize the color red. Now, it can be your favorite article of red. It can be, and they talk about when they're teaching about a lotus flower opening up. So it could be your favorite bloom of rose, let's say, opening up. And as that opens up, you start to feel its energy and it will open up for you. And then I always add with mine, thank you, I'm in gratitude. But that's just my personal way of doing it. And I do that for each and every chakra.
Excellent, excellent. And whenever we stop like that and start to do the actionable, you guys can do it along with us now, or you can pay attention now and do it later. It doesn't matter. The collective sometimes, and Rick will explain this from doing all of his workshops out and about where he's with a bunch of other spiritual people. Sometimes we get the collective lift, and that was the idea behind Vibe with the Tribe, is that we all get the collective lift, even if we are in different parts of the world and doing different things and experiencing different weather and whatnot. So the collective can sometimes lift you up. So you can actually do like a little practice in the session here, just kind of get your bearings, and then do the full blown later on with yourself. So, just what Rick said, you just sit quietly, focus on that area, focus on the energy that you feel in that area. I know mindfulness is very tricky for me. And Rick, I think you said, it's tricky for you too, to just kind of sit there. In my house, half of the people are very mindful, and Greg and Ella can meditate beautifully. They can just sit there for hours and do whatever they have to do. And Angus and I are like peeking out one eye and scratching our face and wiggling in the chair and, doing 50 other things, thinking about, everything else that has to happen. I really do have to work on it to get to that space of mindfulness where I'm coordinating everything. And that's one of the reasons that I like all the videos and recordings that I work with, because I'll put like a weighted eye mask on. I'll just lay down in bed. For me to prepare for meditation is a bit more challenging when I do it in the more relaxed the situation gets, is the more challenging it is for me. For me, sitting in this chair is a little bit better of a meditation experience because I'm sitting up. I'm not, I'm in work mode, so I'm working on meditating. When I go to bed and I try to meditate, sometimes I'm, drifting off into all kinds of stuff. So, I do think I strongly encourage everybody to, try and focus on these energy centers as we go over the next few weeks. It's really very important to kind of touch in with those, get them kind of rocking and rolling. And the further we go, the easier it's going to get. So by the time we get to the throat chakra, third eye, and the crown chakra, you guys are going to be pretty good at focusing on this and getting the energy to kind of flow and move. Now, Grumpy said, that's him with ADHD. Yes, absolutely. I do have a solution for people that have ADHD, typically neurodivergent. I am probably ADHD. I'm pretty sure most of my house is. One of the things that you can do is you can tense a body part and then release it. So you can do that with your feet. You can physically do it. When we get into some of the other areas, you can kind of grip your abs and kind of tense that up and then release it. Joe Dispenza, with his energy center balancing, he has you grip your perineal and go all the way up your body in tension and then release it on the breath. So there's a few different tricks you can try, but I know people that have ADHD, if they actually physically tense up a body part and then release it, that does help because it still remains in a little bit of physical action. Also, you can go for a walk, go for a run, do some kind of cardio before it. That's going to help you as well. I last week we talked about when you have distractions and you have I always have the big broom come in and sweep people out of my mind. You can try, when that happens, tensing body parts, tense both your arms, tense both your legs, bring them up off the ground, up out of the chair, whatever you're in, and tense it up. And then oh, it looks like I had a big bingo wing here. Ooh, look at that. Do you call them bingo wings?
Yeah.
think of things. So yeah, that squirrel there's some ADHD in on parade for you. That should help. Also, doing a heavy breath out is going to help you as well. So in through the nose.
You pull it, and just to build on that as well, is to pull it into the area that you're working on. So if you can imagine a cog and a wheel. So as we breathe in, we take that and just hold it briefly. But what we're looking to do is to pull it in as low as possible. So that breath. So it's mindfully breathing, because the thing is about us when we're really busy is that breathing is natural. It's the most natural thing that we do. So we just, whatever your cycle of breath is. But if you're consciously mindful of your breathing, then you can also then start to feel where there might be an imbalance. Now, I don't want to run too far ahead of this, but if you imagine the bike chain and you start breathing through that process there, it should just flow from top to bottom. If there's an imbalance or a knock somewhere, and you get there and all of a sudden it feels like as you're going down there, and let's say, for instance, we get to the root chakra, because I don't want to get to, as I say, don't want to get too far ahead. You get to the root chakra, start to look around you in your everyday life and just look at, is there anything that's changed all of a sudden? Is there anything that's impacted on your security in life? Has there been something that's been taken away? Has there been a grief? Has there been a loss? Because once you breathe in there, your body is a great indicator for where there might be an energetic block. So it's important when you open up that you breathe right the way through it, because your body, maybe even without you consciously knowing it, might be sending you a message. Right. So there's lots of different indicators that come in there. And for me, the body always speaks before the physicality. So the energetic field will then tell you that there's something there. And the last part of it that you will get to know that there's something wrong is when it physically manifests. So my thing, and I do struggle with this because I'm absolutely convinced I'm ADHD, is I go out into the woods. That is my meditation space. For anybody that follows me on Facebook, you will see what I've done to deal with my not being able to sit down and twitch. I've bought this, it's almost like a porch where I can sit in it. And the reason I've done that is because that is the working space. When I go in there, I don't want thoughts. I don't want things that are going around in my head, constructs and things that I've got to do. So that space is clear when I go in there. At the moment, the majority of it is when I walk around the local woods. And I go in there and my mind just works at 100 miles an hour all the time, never switches off. However, once the thoughts start drifting off somewhere, so for those of you that struggle with meditation, change the wording, right? We're not going to go into meditation because the mind goes into overload. Oh, I can't imagine sitting cross-legged and humming and keeping still. Right. How about sitting in your own power? Sitting in your own personal oasis, however you can describe it, where you're sat comfortable. And the words are correct. If it suits you, the words are correct. So mine is sitting in my power. All right. Now that can mean anything to anybody, but me, I'm going into my own power. I'm going into my own workshop, and I'm going to prepare myself for some work that I've got to do. So as I go into the woods, I'm very easily distracted. You mentioned about squirrels. Sometimes I reckon I carry a bag of squirrels and they all get loose all at the same time, and I'm hastily trying to get them back into the bag. But what I do is then, if I find my thoughts drifting off, right, just a brief, can we just stop? Just pause. Lower the vibration and the frequency. Right, what was my task? And then whatever's caught my eye, which it tends to do, I'm the attention part of it. Right, what is my task? Oh, so I'm focusing on this moment now of being in my own personal power. What is my task? Right, I am working on. So I keep pulling myself back. And I likened it to a client I was working with the other day. Imagine your toddlers, your kids when they were younger, and they learn to walk. So they want to run off and they want to explore everything. Well, in my mind, it's like that at times. So the best thing that you can do to support them is to put the reins on them, and every now and again, just back here. Okay, just back it. But the importance is the calmness that you put into your voice, and lowering that intonation in your voice. Because if you imagine, "Don't concentrate," then you're not going to do it. You're just going to start visualizing Animal out the Muppets or something like that. But if you're just, right, let's keep on task. Let's keep ourselves grounded. Let's be in the moment. Because this is stress, and I've only just learned this as well. And this is another story for another day. But anger, frustration, depression have all got their own frequencies. I was sat next to a drumming circle, which, to be honest, don't tend to bother me. But this particular drumming was annoying the crap out of me, and it brought all of this to the surface. And Spirit helpfully came in and just went, everything's got a frequency. So if you're going out into your mindfulness space, into that quiet space, and you're taking in all of that stuff that's bothering you, that frequency is going to bring that to the surface. So work with the frequency that you need, that you feel comfortable with. And this is my style of it. I can't say it's teaching, but it's guidance for somebody that has got a non-traditional mind that really does struggle with the construct of, right, sit there, imagine yourself in a field, and we're going over a bridge, and you're going to do that for 45 minutes. My head goes like Homer Simpson. How long have you been here? 40 of the sickiest minutes of my life. And I'm off. So I have to indulge myself in that way, that it probably takes me longer than most people to get into that space. But the key is I've learned to manage that. So don't berate yourself if it all of a sudden doesn't come right, because what we're introducing here is something that might be brand new to you. So how would you treat somebody that's a learner or just getting into a new way? You'd encourage them, you'd support them and guide them. So sometimes it's just how the little narrator or the voice in your head just says, whatever it's going with, as long as it's coming in a calm tone, and you can keep yourself focused. And the thing is about meditation, it takes practice, because I'm absolutely shocking at it, but you keep going at it. And then eventually you will find your level. You will find the place where you will just automatically go into it, because the brain is then programmed, right, I'm out of here for 20 minutes. I don't need anybody manning the controls. And that is the secret, is rather than doing, we are in a state of being. So if there is a discomfort in any of the wording that was used, write something different on the control sheet, write something different on the instruction book. It's important that all you're doing is changing one state of behavior to another one. So again, we're dialing it back. So when we're on full on, like, I've got to do everything and I've got a list of things that to do. Right. Well, that's not helpful in this thing. So what we're in a sense doing is emptying the fuel tank, and then we're putting fresh fuel in, and that fuel needs filtering. So any muck or anything that goes stays in the filter, and all of the rest of it, the concentration is just you being in that moment. I hope that makes a bit of sense.
No, it totally makes sense. And, to be sure, one of the reasons why I like doing this exercise with clients where we're getting into a high rise is because sometimes if you don't give a construct, if you throw people out into, nothingness and go, okay, you're going to meditate from here. It's like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So everybody loves going on vacation. So if we go on vacation and we go into this high rise building, yours might be by the sea, yours may be in the city. There's all kinds of places that your high rise can be. If we do that, you're going to develop a better comfort level with all of this. And the idea is we're going to work on the individual chakras, And then as we get, like I said, as we get to the top one, it's going to get easier and easier. And then when we're all done, you're going to find that the frequency that Rick was talking about overall is going to be turned to perfect frequency. We're not going to have the static. We're not going to have the other radio station kind of bleeding in. You're not going to have, da, 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 while you're listening to Mozart. You're going to find that. So the end goal is a good goal. It's basically just to get the temperature level turned down just a little bit all of the time, that frequency, that background static and noise turned down a little bit. So we're going to feel great. Now I put 2 links in here. One, they seem to have conflicting information in them. They're both chakra frequencies. I can't even say it. But it looked like they were a little contradictory. One was an actual music chart. Correction. No, they're exactly the same. So our root chakra, the music chart actually has a little bit more detail with sharps and flats, but the root chakra should be the note of A. So it is an A note. Frequency is 432. So again, if you find on YouTube any of the meditations that are, energy center balancing, chakra balancing, anything like that, you're going to be able to do this. I think Rick should do a series of meditations on this. So maybe as we're working through this, we'll have a series of meditations from Rick that you can go and enjoy. But just to kind of story tell through this again, we get to our hotel, day 1, go into the lobby, we find the concierge, we drop our bags with the porter. And now we're going and sitting in that little loungy area. We're having a cup of tea, maybe a glass of water with a slice of lemon in it. And we're getting our bearings at the hotel. So I want you to imagine that the hotel lobby is mostly red and very easy in its energy level there. People aren't rushing around. No one's screaming. It's not like a kitchen. It's not like the cafe where waiters and waitresses are a little bit more upbeat. This is a much more calm environment, smooth and working well. This is where everything starts. This is where everything is going to hinge on. So we're just going to breathe, get that chakra going nice and mellow. And in our next episode, we are going to talk about the next level. So let me just pull up my notes here. We are going to talk about the sacral chakra. And this one's going to be really important because this is the power of creativity. So sacral chakra can be your reproductive organs for females. The root chakra is more reproductive organs for males. Your belly is kind of included in that sacral chakra as well. It's kind of just maybe 2 or 3 inches below your navel or around your navel, depending on how your body is built. Again, the energy centers are approximate. It's not exactly right there. So when you start to focus on these, you may feel like that energy center is a little different from what someone else said. Years ago, I had somebody say that the sacral chakra was 2 fingers width underneath your belly button. Well, I don't know if mine is quite there. It feels a little bigger than that, just saying. But this is our creativity center. So this is where next week we are going to start to craft the disposition, the energetic and chakral disposition that we need to accomplish the things that we are setting out to accomplish. So if you are going to be a professional tap dancer and you're going to be doing 3 shows a day, 7 days a week, your energy level is going to have to be a lot different than someone who is maybe a massage therapist. So, next week we'll talk a little bit about setting the pace with that. So everybody may have a little bit of a different pacing on their sacral chakra. So, but that root chakra should be low, slow, deep energy. It should be productive, unstoppable, deep energy. So that chakra pool is going to be really, really deep. You got to remember that. Anything else that you want to add to that, Mr. Rick?
Self-love, strength, your inner strength. And it's like we're saying there, what we're preparing is the groundworks for building on. So for me, it represents character. It represents everything that is the foundation of you. And we're talking, and we're just moving into there about the sacral chakra without giving too much away. I would honestly say it is one of my most troublesome, that the sacral, that if there's anything going on in my life where it is a little bit turbulent, or there's something going on, because it's such an intuitive chakra, is that's where I get stomach issues. That's where my anxiety sits. So my diagram might be slightly different to Annabelle's there, but I seat it just along the navel line there and across my appendix scar, when they used to make scars when they took your appendix out, and it runs into my anxiety pocket. But I'll not spoil next week's by explaining what I mean by my anxiety pocket. But that's just something there to work on. So to just sum up what we've spoken about, the root chakra is that base. It's that place there that we're going to put a lot of energy on top of it. So this is what I want you to take away from this session is look at any of the thoughts that you've got going around in your mind that might be like derogatory, like a self-fulfilling prophecy, anything that you're saying that is negative about yourself. Start to change your wording, right? Because remember, if we're building something, it's only as good as the foundations that we're putting in. So I'm not going on one of these hippie me rants and, new me, new starts and all of that sort of thing. But if
it is Monday.
But if you can just get it into your mind that what we're doing is we're altering things, and we're altering programmings, and we're altering our perspective on things. We can't change actual things that have happened, but we can change our response to it. So any time that we're building on something, we're not slow, we're not behind, we're not good enough or anything like that. We don't want none of that. We're looking at the strength that we've got, the courage that we've got to start these new processes, and everything takes time. So one of the words I don't like, but I'm going to give this in this instance, is patience and just finding your feet. So we're in there now, we're getting our bearings, we're having a look around, and everything is chilled. And if everything is chilled, then we can start to look at going up onto the next floor and having a look around and seeing what fabulous things that brings in for us. So there's more to come. So stay tuned with us on all of that, because it is, if you really get into this, it is really exciting. I'm sat here now and I'm preaching, but I'm tired, but I look after and take care of my own energy centers. It is that important. You can make big differences in your life. So spend this time this week before we meet up again about building your own strength. What is it that that you love about yourself? Just change your thought patterns just gradually. What makes you tick, and we're putting all of that into the foundation. So by the end of the time that we've spent together on this, we'll have built an efficient tower that you can manage, and it's a tower of communication, so it will connect to the outside world. And then bear with us on this, because this is just the start, I promise you.
So we got a cool question from Stephen Magnus, who is a super fan. He's here all the time. Love Stephen. Not so much. Angus was almost a Magnus, so I love that. So he says, are the body frequencies linked to natural resonant frequency of the planet? Yes. So, but vice versa. And this is where, the hippy dippy comes in a little bit here. That's what in the 60s they would have these workshops, and they still have them. I shouldn't say just in the 60s, but they started doing them more frequently. We started seeing them in mainstream lifestyles in the 60s. People would have these meeting places where they would all meditate and do all kinds of stuff. Burning Man is one of them. People would go there, and it was like an art and fun festival. I posit this to you. When there is a gathering, so it could be a political rally, it could be a concert, something like that. Go there when it starts. If you've ever been lucky enough to get there at the beginning, where they're setting up and that the energy is building, you will feel that energy kind of build, that collective, and you kind of get into the stream of it. The same thing will happen when there are planetary changes. We can be affected by the moon, those kinds of things. But when we have significant earthquakes, you'll see. And I follow a couple of earthquake sites because I think weather and planetary changes are fascinating. But you will see that there are certain things that start to go on when there's certain physical things going on with the planet. You'll see that people will be affected by it. So very, very, very interesting. I mean, we had a ton of celebrities leave the planet this weekend, and one almost leave the planet. And I think there's something to be said about that as well. It's almost like there's a portal that opens up, and it makes it a little bit easier for everybody to leave their bodies. So I think that happens as well. So, the easy answer, yes. Yes, we do get some of the effects of those of the other planets, the things that are going on. We do get some of those, but we can collectively affect the energy of the planet. So, if we got everybody to sit down and meditate on the root chakra today, however many people there are on the planet right now, if we got everybody to do that, we may have a really great day. We may set the intention for the week and, have a really great day, have a really great week, whatever it may be. Is everyone going to do that? No, not everybody's going to do that. We're overdue for a pole shift change. So I think planet Earth needs a little bit of a chiropractic adjustment anyway. If you don't know anything about the Younger Dryas event, go look it up, listen to or read some Graham Hancock. They'll talk about that. I read an amazing book when I was in college called Pole Shift. And, a lot of people think when the magnetic poles shift, like the whole planet like slips around, like the whole crust slips around, but that's not really what happens. It just kind of goes off center. Things are just, we're a little off center. So, we're due for one of those that's going to, make for some interesting things. In the event that we do have that magnetic pole shift over a few degrees, I guarantee you that everyone is going to experience some kind of chakra misalignment. And as a result of the chakra misalignment, we get body dis-ease. So you may wind up with, I don't know, sciatica. You may wind up with a rash. You may wind up with a sinus infection. It really depends on how your body reacts to that and which of your chakras are the weakest. There's no one day that like all of your chakras are, yay, they're all doing great. It is part of the energetic machinery that makes us up. So sometimes you're going to have, a lame foot or a bad knee. Sometimes you're going to have a chakra that does not function very well. My sacral chakra is my bad spot. That's the one that doesn't work really well for me. Not to be TMI, but I do have fibroids. I do have some issues there, and they get in the way. But if I were a bit more diligent about practicing my meditation, then I could get it a little bit better. And I do find that when I pay attention, the discomfort and the pain that I do have on occasion from them does lessen. At one point, I did get them to shrink a little bit, and then they came back with a vengeance. So, doctor was like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to tell him like I'm like stabbing myself with selenite 3 times a day. But that doesn't work. Just, for all of you, don't ever stab yourself with selenite. It's not going to work. But I think the goal is to be functioning as best we can. There's plenty of time when we get on the other side to be awesome, and be, energetically sound. But, for now, perfection is not really what we're looking for. We're looking for perfect working harmony, but not perfection, if that makes sense. Do you agree with that, Rick?
I do. Just aligning your frequencies. And that my answer to that question that was put up there would be exactly the same. And I think it's been in the place of alignment. So when you mentioned that, I went straight to a live wrestling event where you go in and you've got your bad guys, the heels, and you've got your good guys that that have got their own fans, and depending on what size of the swing is in the building depends on what energy is generated towards those type of people. So this is also a good call to just observe over the course of this week, is when you're around people that don't vibrate on your frequency. Now, I don't talk about arguing or fighting with anybody, but I'm very, very protective these days that there's certain people that trigger me, right? And when I go around them, I'm very mindful of closing down my energies, returning them to that sort of safe space, because I don't want an argument or a fight with anybody, but I'm not going to sit in a space where my energy is not valued. And you can actually change people with the intent of many, many people with the same frequencies. You can change outcomes. I've actually witnessed this happening, where there was a baby that was in intensive care, and we sat at a church meeting and doing the circle of energy, and you get to the point where you can actually tangibly feel that energy, and you send that healing energy out to that person, and so it all goes out. We're all feeling the same intent and wanting the same result, and it goes out. And whether you call it a miracle, whether you call it a fluke, I sat there with 10 people with the same energy and the same intent for that little girl, and that little girl is now 10 years old. She was in the place where it was very, very hit and miss because she was premature and there was lots of other things. She's now a thriving, healthy, happy little girl. My thought with all of this is, I'm just one of these that I believe it when I see it. But it's one of the miracles that I have been fortunate enough to witness. And one of the first people that the lady messaged with her second baby, news of her second baby, was me. Right? We're not particularly close friends, but after what you did for my child, because all I did was I went into the place where I used to go, which was a community centre that doubled as the spiritual church. I'm not religious, and I want to make that very, very clear, but I believe in the energies. So we went in there, and there's a healing book where you write down anybody that might need healing or something they're going with the energy centres that need a little bit of support. And we just sent out a few minutes of energy. So you can do that for your people that are there around you. Just sit in that place of quiet. Imagine that you're sending out this energy and it's going up through your own system with that deep breath, and it's going out to its intended target. Visualize, imagine, feel it going out there. And the more people that we can get to do this, the more chance that we've got of healing the planet. Now, I'm not some hippy dippy, in the middle of a field type of guy. I'm a normal everyday guy. But when you watch it and you take time to notice the subtleties that are going around people's energies, you can solve so many problems. We can avoid so much argument and drama in a life if we don't blend and mix in with those energies that don't align with our own. It's like your ideals and beliefs. If you've got somebody that's against what you stand for, then you might well just give them a bye or anything like that, and you'll talk to them politely, but you don't get involved. And it's the same with your energy. So when you come around people with different energies to yours, have a look, see if there's There's a reason why they might be like that. But at the end of the day, protect your own energy. It is, honestly, guys, it is that important. And I've only just over these last sort of 3 or 4 years started to realize just how important we are. We're energetic beings. All of the rest of it's just candy floss and bullshit. It really is. All of the
Meat
stuff.
puppets. Meat puppets.
Yeah, we're meat puppets. That's it.
So, Rick, I love one of the things that you just said, and I just want to underscore it for everyone here. Using your imagination is so important. You know, you can call it visualizing, but it's really using your imagination. It's a huge component of what I do when I'm teaching psychics. And that, you know, sometimes you're not getting any information that's coming through as a psychic, as an energetic or an empath or whatever you want to call it. And you know, the best thing you can do is relax and start to make it up. You know, now I'm not saying, you know, write a fiction story, but just say the things that are coming through. Say the things that are just popping into your head. Um, More often than not, you know, when I'm working with one of my psychics, they'll say, "Oh, I getting this really weird thing, like, I don't know, it's like a bowl of oranges. Like, I keep seeing a bowl of oranges. What's this bowl of oranges? What's going on here?" You know, and then they find out that somebody got a fruit basket delivered to them. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing. You know, the person they were thinking about had a fruit basket. So they actually were tapping into that. So when you use your imagination, when you see your chakra swirling clockwise, going nicely, you see the beautiful sparkles of magic in it. You're actually affecting that part of your energetic being. You're actually affecting it. So don't discount it. Again, you know, Rick and I are not, we're like, you know, you're like the urban, you know, spiritualists, because the reality is that we have real lives here. We have everyday real life. You can't go driving around in the car. Like I always say, you can't legislate people to be nice. You can't meditate other people into being nice. What you can do is you can set yourself up in the best possible way to tackle the day and tackle those individuals that maybe are not so energetically benevolent. I think that was a good way of putting it. So, you know, you can go out there, and we all are dealing with those low vibe, low quality people. We all have to deal with them. You know, you can't live on a commune and everybody's going to be great. You know, just I've been in roommate situations, you know, that even if you've got, you know, 10 roommates that are great, there's always that one that is just a stick in the mud and just constantly has a problem, constantly has to be coddled along, constantly has to be apologized to, or accommodated. You know, you're going to have to deal with that. What we are preparing you for is to be the best version of yourself, or to create that best version of yourself, so that you can go out there and deal optimally with the negative situations that still are going to exist in the world. You know, this isn't the time machine. We're not the Eloi. We're not living nicely. I mean, the Eloi had their own problems with the Morlocks eating them anyway, but you know, we just want to be as prepared as possible. Physical fitness is a great thing. Energetic fitness is really a good thing, to set the pace for your physical fitness and for your interactions with other people. So, Rick, do you have anything to add?
No, other than that, when you join us next week, I will be fresh back from 2 or 3 different appearances. So,
Woo!
what you will see in front of you is somebody that really needs to practice what he preaches, because I shall have to go through several stages of opening up and closing down, mitigating against certain energies that I don't particularly want to be around, and then there'll be others that will draw my energy. So I will be sat here next week God willing, or whatever it is that you believe in, and ready to go again with that sacral chakra energy. And I'm quite happy to sit in and learn as well from you guys when you bring across your experiences. So I'm going to close with just thank you very much for watching, all of you guys that have tuned in and watched. And we're not sat here preaching at you guys, because we're very realistic. Both of us are down to earth. We understand that life does have a habit of getting in the way, but this is just like that spiritual pick me up, which is what Vibe with the Tribe is all about. So we'll keep advertising it. Stick with us, guys, because there's more to come.
Yeah, Paul from the Fitness Hutch, he had posted, about setting the expectation for the week. How does your week want to look? This is all about that. Like, Vibe with the Tribe, we want you to set the pace for your week. We want to bring you in, put the oxygen mask on yourself, get yourself ready for the week, and get going. I know it's a little bit later in England. It's a lot later in the UAE for Grumpy Sapper, our buddy out there in the desert. But we just want you to kind of set the pace for the week and have the best possible week, and kick off with like the best possible feelings. Rick and I, we're so grateful for all of you watching. We're so grateful that you guys are here. And we want to vibe with the tribe. We want to all move into the week well together. So we will see you next week. For this week, just concentrate on that root chakra, like once a day before you get out of bed. Just concentrate, give it a little focus. Get yourself nice foundation for next week, and then we're going to talk about making some creative changes and start bringing some creativity into the situation. So until then, Rick and I bid you well, and we will see you next Monday.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.